We're on.
Okay. Andrew, are we ready?
Ready.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Canutillo Independent School District. Today is July 28th, 2020. The time is 3:03 p.m. And at this time, Sonia, would you please call roll?
Yes, sir. Miss Brigham,
Ms. Brigham said she might be calling in late.
Mr. Coronado,
Here.
Mr. Payan,
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
Mrs. Searles,
Here.
Mrs. Trout,
Present.
and Mrs. Iglesias.
And Ms. Iglesias also, I think, informed us that she may not be able to attend today's meeting.
Okay.
All right. So before we proceed into the next agenda item, I do want to inform everybody with respect to our meeting today that Governor Abbott on March 16th did grant a request from our Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of the open meetings laws to the extent necessary. Give me a second. I think I have. Okay. To the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meeting in response to the coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak. And so in accordance with those suspended titles, we certify the following. I don't know what.
We need
Having
people
some,
to mute.
Marie Mondo, did you put yourself on mute or everybody?
I'm on mute. You might want to put the other computer on mute if you haven't.
I did. Okay. All right, apologize. Okay. So I will continue with the preface to the meeting. So in accordance with the suspended rules, we certify the following: that notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Although members of the board are not gathered in a central location, we do have quorum in attendance at this meeting by telephone and internet access. And we're meeting both by telephone conference call, online access, and through the use of an email link for questions. If a member of the public wants to submit written questions, you can do so through the board president, the administration. Somebody will read the comments into the record before or during the board's consideration of that item. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practicable. An audio recording is being made of this meeting and will be available at a later time. We apologize in advance for any difficulties and we ask for your patience as we navigate through these conditions. And if you have any questions, you can, with respect to these suspended open meetings regulations and laws, please contact the Office of the Attorney General at 886-672-6787 or by email at toma@oag.texas.gov. Okay, Sonia, next agenda item. All right, Sonia. All right, the next agenda item is the board business, but with consent of the board, we've been requested by administration to be able to take up executive session. So if I don't, hearing any disagreement from the board members present, we would like to take up then the agenda item with respect to executive session.
Yes, sir.
Item 3, Sonia.
Okay. Yes, sir. The time is now 3:07. This meeting is to be closed under Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. A, discussion regarding the sale of real estate property owned by Canutillo Independent School District adjacent to the Garcia Elementary School.
All right, Sonia, can you give me the time, please?
Yes, sir. It's 3:07.
Okay. All right, the board will then convene into executive session and then we'll later come back into open session at this time. Board members, please get on the link to executive session, please.
Can you hear me?
Blanca, you have to exit
What?
this one.
What should I do?
Just leave meeting and then go to the link that they gave you.
I'm looking my live meeting. Where is it?
On the top, it's
Oh,
usually
okay, the bottom. Did
leave
I?
meeting. You click on the other one.
I'm press. Oh, okay, now.
Bruno,
Hey, Mando.
¿cómo estás?
Good, good. Hello, everybody.
Hold on, guys. Mando, you're coming through on the general meeting.
Hello?
Hello? We can hear you, Lori.
Oh, hello. Good. Am I the first back?
Yes. Waiting on Miss Brigham. And said he'll.
Have you guys been getting bit by mosquitoes or is it just me?
Just
I think-
you.
We all back on?
Well,
Yes. Well,
waiting on Miss Brigham.
Okay. The time is 2.
No.
4:24.
are we in session already? Did we back?
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Andrew,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
we back on the meeting?
Yes, we are.
Yep. Sal?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Blanca.
Thank you.
Sal?
Thank you, sir.
Sal, are you on?
Okay, okay, we are back already in session, Mr. Chair?
Yes, we're just waiting for Sal.
Oh, okay.
And Lori, are
I'm
you
on.
on?
I'm
I'm
here.
on.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
And Miss Brigham? Okay, we don't have Miss Brigham yet.
Did we have community comment?
Yes, we have one, we have community comment. Liza, can you read it, please?
Yes, we have pertaining to this item, there's one. And I'll go ahead and read it. Can I, am I on? Okay. Property is listed for $1.6 million. School and federal money was expended on the property for irrigation and other improvements. This land was originally slated for the ag program that was undermined and transferred back to the middle school. The assumption is that the sale will go through the asking price. Anything less would be an injustice to the taxpayers of the district. What are the plans for this revenue? Will it be used to offset the payback of the 44 million bond and reduce the taxpayers' burden, or are you looking at quality of education improvement for the students? Those are the questions. Those are the two questions.
And who wrote it?
This is from Al Flores Jr.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, do you want me to read the item, sir?
Hold on. Let's make sure we have Mr. Payan and Ms. Brigham back on.
I'm on.
Mr. Payan's on.
All right. And Ms. Brigham?
I don't see her.
Oh,
Okay.
she's,
She was traveling, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Go
Does
ahead,
somebody call her? It seems wrong not to include her.
yeah, we will.
Sonia, can you call her? Or I don't know how you contact some.
have
I
a
don't know
number
what you
for
do.
her.
This is Andrew. I'm currently on the phone with Miss Brigham, assisting her on getting back on.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you.
good.
Yes, Galaxy 9.
All right. Steve, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Steve, you got the times. We went into executive session at 3:07 and we ended it at 4:24.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Ms. Brigham, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, good. Thank you, Andrew and Ms. Brigham, for joining us again. All right.
Thank you.
Sonia, would you please bring us back into open session?
Yes, sir. The time is now 4:28. Item 4, new business. A, discussion and possible action regarding the sale of real estate property owned by Canutillo ISD adjacent to the Garcia Elementary School.
Mr.
And-
Chair.
Hang on 1 second. Ms. Brigham, did you hear we had public comment or were you still gone?
Yes, I did hear. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just couldn't respond. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Trout?
Before we move on to the business, I would like to ask the whole board a moment of silence in memory of our ex-student from Canutillo High School. Unfortunately, that she passed away. Her name is Ariana Rubio.
Thank you, Ms. Trout. That is correct. One of our students who graduated last year did contact COVID, and as a matter of fact, my understanding is within a week for
Yes.
getting symptoms that she died. So our condolences go out to the family, and we will at this point have a moment of silence
On her honor, thank you.
in her honor. All right. Thank you, board.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Trout.
Thank you. Rest in peace, Ariana Rubio. As well, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to authorize Seabury to negotiate the sale of the land located on West Side Drive by Garcia Elementary School, and what was spoken in closed session.
All right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second on this agenda item. Sonia, would you please pull the board?
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham,
No.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes?
Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Searles,
No.
Mrs. Trout,
Yes.
Mr.
And-
Chair,
Yeah.
I just want to make a comment. It's interesting how people behave two different ways, especially when they're in public.
All right. That's not a appropriate comment at this time.
Appropriate.
That's not an appropriate comment, everybody, please. All right.
Thank you.
Next agenda item.
motion passes. Okay. And now we'll go back to item 2, board business. A, COVID-19. Number 1, updates regarding reopening safety protocols for students and staff, fall 2020.
Go ahead, Dr. Reyes. Report. There you are.
Hello.
You're on mute.
Hello?
Mr. Bruno?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Reyes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure Mr. Vasquez and Nurse Berumen are also on. Thank you, Andrew, for putting them on.
I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you all for having us on this afternoon. Superintendent Garavis, Board President Coronado, and Board of Trustees. We're going to talk a little bit about where we have been putting a lot of our efforts towards safety protocols. We all know that we have to have well-developed protocols for our reopening of schools. And we as a school district need to be as transparent about our procedures for taking students in each day. So this is a summation of what we have been working on for about the last 8-9 weeks. This committee meets on a weekly basis, and we try to address as much as we can as parents are asking questions about what does it look like? What are you all going to do to ensure my baby's going to be safe? So if you'll go ahead and click over, Andrew, thank you. So this document that we have created and will be posted on our webpage is focused on the goal of safe return for our kids in mind. That's our bottom line. And so, of course, we want to have our goals focused on the health, the safety, and the welfare of all stakeholders, our students, our faculty, our staff, visitors, and as well as our community. So whatever we can do to ensure that there is health, safety, and welfare in mind as we progress and as we go forth with our learning model, that's exactly what we determined as important. Go ahead and thank you. So the opening of schools has to happen safely. We know that. And we wanted to make sure that our community, as well as our Board of Trustees, understands that we're basing this on local science and data. And that information is coming through the guidelines of many documents, many research documents. All three of us have brought different perspectives to our team as we begin to build the protocols, or we have begun to build those protocols. As you can see, we've listed them here. The El Paso Department of Public Health, of course, the CDC guidelines, and then Texas Education Agency also has their public health orders and a planning guidance that they have put forth. And so we have utilized that too. We know that when we're talking about opening of the schools, hold on, I'm sorry, Andrew. Thank you. We prefer to see a downward trend where the positivity rate of COVID cases declines to 5% within a 14-day span. And right now, the state of Texas is at 12.94%. We do know that the 5 zip codes that surround Canutillo ISD, we have about 1,007, I won't say about, we do have 1,744 positive cases as of today. And that was up from yesterday, which was 1,695 cases. So as you can see, we're still increasing our number of cases within our own community. So if there's one thing that I want to make sure that our Board of Trustees, our leadership, and everyone involved is that we're all needing to be socially responsible, because schools cannot be open safely for face-to-face instruction if the virus is not contained in our local community. So
Amen.
Thank you. So please know that those guidelines that we are putting forth for our district as a protocol are based on science and local data. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Reynoso. All right. Mr. Vasquez.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So thank you, Dr. Reyes. We began this as a coordinated effort with the office of Dr. Reyes, Nurse Berumen, but through this process, we've gotten help from many different people. And so we also want to acknowledge them. Laura Caballero with the Office of PIO helped us develop a signage catalog after we researched best practices from various sources. We later consulted with the principals about their campus's particular needs, and once they had a more defined scope, we added their requests to the list. So for example, Canutillo Middle School has a series of signs that only they have because of the STEM Academy requirements. We have signs mandating the use of masks, describing the building rules. We have floor circles marking the 6-foot distance, and in the limited areas where we are allowing lines to queue, we have directional arrows, temperature check signs, and several others. Signs are in English and Spanish, and we began delivery today to all campuses. The custodial staff will place the signs following the principal's directions.
Okay.
And the only thing is the floor signs take a special type of adhesive that was not readily available And some of these will continue arriving in the following days. Next slide, Andrew, please. Mhm. We also made a list of special supplies and devices that we'll need to distribute to the campuses. These include touchless thermometers, face masks, and 3D printed shields, plastic gloves, touchless hand sanitizer dispensers, and disinfecting wipes and chemicals. District staff also fabricated acrylic sneeze shields using a very clever design perfected by Mr. Mata, our small construction specialist, and his team. We were finding out that these devices were very, very expensive, and we were able to make them at a fraction of the cost using our own staff. In addition to supplies provided by either facilities or student support services, we received a shipment of materials from TEA. It includes, and Dr. Reyes, correct me if I'm wrong, but it includes disposable and reusable masks for children and adults.
That's correct.
Gloves, thermometers, hand sanitizer, and face shields. A team from facilities led by Mr. Okana mobilized quickly to pick up and deliver these items from the Region 19 distribution center. And kudos also to Mr. Ceballos and Mr. Christensen, our warehouse manager, for that effort.
Good.
Next slide, Andrew, please.
So I will tell you, just to piggyback off of Mr. Vasquez, the PPE is now located at Lone Star. And so tomorrow morning, there'll be a concerted effort from student support services, parent liaisons, even my own children, and Ms. Trout's daughter. We're going to be coming together, and we'll be allotting all of the PPE distribution to each of the campuses so we can get them ready, COVID ready, for staff and other employees that will be coming back to work, whether it's a staggered schedule, but whatever it is, we want them to make sure they have their personal protective equipment. So that will be done tomorrow. So we will have that ready to go for everyone.
Good.
So staff expectations. And of course, it takes training, it takes knowledge. Knowledge is power. Power means empowerment. And so we definitely want to empower our staff and our students. So through Mr. Vasquez and his foresight of bringing in some experts, there are some COVID-19 training modules that all staff must complete, and it pertains specifically to COVID-19. We wanted to make sure that all of our staff had formal training on information about COVID, about hand washing, about wearing masks, how to put on the mask, take off the mask, just 10 modules that are going to be comprehensive enough that we feel that will help prepare our staff for entering our buildings, working in our buildings, and then when kids come back, are ready to work with them. We know that all adults in the school need to focus on masks, hand washing, and physical distancing. And so that, of course, is an expectation. We also have the expectation of self-screening, and that has to be done daily prior to them reporting to work. And I'm proud to say that we have been doing this for the last 2.5 months. And this has become now a must, a requirement. So we're already robust in this practice, and it will continue as it is outlined in the guidelines of the Department of Public Health. One of the things that we're going to make sure that everyone understands is if you're sick, you stay home. If you feel sick, you stay home. Please do not come to work. And so that is going to be one of the educational points we make for all of our stakeholders. And then, of course, utilizing the required PPE during the classroom procedures, whether that's disinfecting and sanitizing the classrooms, helping with the meal times of breakfast and lunch, whatever that is. We will be training teachers so that they understand what their behaviors will have to be as we prepare for kids in the classrooms. And then, of course, it's all about compliance, complying with the safety protocols that are adopted by Canotio ISD. So those are the staff expectations. Then we get to the student expectations. And
Okay.
again, of course, it's going to be running parallel to what we asked the staff to do, and that is the face masks, the hand washing, practicing those hygiene practices, and then also physical distancing. So one of the differences is as we ask our staff to self-screen, we're going to help our students understand that through parent education, we want our parents to screen their children at home prior to sending them to school. So asking them to take their temperature, asking them to, or paying attention to if there's any symptoms that they may exhibit. And if that's the case, then we're talking about looking at them staying home. Again, third bullet, if you're sick, stay home. So that's the biggest communication that we'll have for our community. The other thing is that as we prepare for face-to-face, our students will participate in lessons that deal with hand washing, that deal with restroom breaks, that deal with social distancing and what the classroom procedures will look like. So that's going to be a concerted effort through our nurses, through the PE teachers, as Nancy Torres, our coordinated school health facilitator, will be helping with that aspect. And so we'll ensure that just like we expect training to happen for our staff, we're going to do the same for our students. And again, it's all about compliance. They also will be held responsible to comply with the safety protocols. Okay, next slide, Andrew. Thank you. Visitors. So as we all know, the more people that congregate under one roof brings more risk. And so at this point, I know, and it hurts me to say this because we always want our community to be engaged. We always want our parents and our community to feel welcome in the schools. But this pandemic has made some changes. And so we're minimizing the number of visitors on campuses. We're asking all of our community to please not drop in. You need to make an appointment.
Okay.
We are saying that all visitors that come to the campus, whether it's a contractor, a vendor, a parent, appointments need to be made. And if you can, with all measures, to have a virtual meeting rather than a face-to-face, of course, we would welcome that as well. As far as our volunteers, it's saddened to say that our opportunities of volunteering on the campus will be suspended until further notice. We don't want to run more risk with more people in our buildings. As much as our volunteers are amazing, at this point, we're asking that they volunteer from their homes. And so I will be working with parent liaisons on what volunteering can look like during COVID time. I'm actually going to be attending some webinars to get some ideas on that. So we do ask our volunteers just to sit tight, but PTOs are more than welcome to continue to have their meetings virtually and to be creative if they are still looking at volunteering or fundraising. But everything has to be done virtually or on their own personal, in their own personal homes. And again, we expect every visitor, as Mr. Vasquez has stated in a previous PowerPoint slide, that everyone has to comply with the safety protocols based on the signage that we have. That's an expectation. And so you will see that as a visitor comes into the building, there will be some changes where they will have to have their temperature taken. There will be a screening protocol written on paper for that person if they have an appointment and they're going to be entering the building. There will be hand sanitizer available. I will tell you, we just received on the 26th of July, which was Sunday, that the new health order that came out from the Department of Public Health states what is expected by the employers at workplaces. And so we're making sure to comply with that, and we'll be training our registrars, our office staff, and our principals to ensure that as a visitor comes in, everyone is doing the standard practice of screening. So that will be also done shortly. Next slide. And then Mr. Vasquez, this one is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Reyes. We hired a professional team of experts that includes engineers, industrial hygienists, and even healthcare professionals. They have offices worldwide, and they developed for us a custodial and disinfecting protocol specifically tailored to our district.
Cool.
We benefited from their direct experience with reopening strategies in other parts of the world. And they began by developing an initial assessment after visiting our facilities, reviewing our cleaning catalog, and interviewing some of the custodians. With this information, they developed a cleaning protocol for our buildings and another one separate for our buses. They also provided us with online training sessions like Dr. Reyes was mentioning. And after we review those sessions in our committee, we realized the value that they provided for everybody else. And so we made it available to all the district staff, and in coordination with the superintendent's office. So later this week, once the custodians finish with their online training, our consultant will provide a second training session. This is going to be live via Zoom to all the custodians. And then we will repeat this process with the bus drivers once they report for duty in a few days. After, anyways, another highlight of our disinfecting process is verification. We will randomly select a few areas in the district to review and verify that the team is following the cleaning requirements listed in the protocol. And if deficiencies are found, of course, we will make corrections, but it will certainly help us make sure that we keep on track with this process. Next slide, please.
Okay, so what also is encompassed in our safety protocols, we do address the work and learning environments, those different settings. And so we do have procedures and guidelines set up for the following bullets. So I do want to let you know that we have addressed the classroom configuration. I have to give kudos to our principals, to Ms. Rocha, to Dr. Kearney, about really trying hard to keep the class sizes down so that we can ensure that we have that 6 feet distance between students. And so they are looking at those classroom configurations. In those configurations, we're also including that there has to be hand sanitizer if they don't have an operable sink in their classroom, which some of our classrooms do. We talk about the common areas and ensuring that, of course, the guideline under the Department of Public Health stated that common areas are not to be utilized for large congregation of people. And of course, we know that and we are abiding by it, but we are using those common areas for specific classes or utilizing them as classrooms. So we are addressing that. Workspaces, of course, the teacher workspaces, the office workspaces, central office workspaces, all of those are also being addressed so that we can ensure the safety of again, all stakeholders. The restrooms, we do have some guidelines on restroom breaks, taking kids, especially the smaller kids, in as a classroom so that they can adhere with supervision to ensure that they are social distancing, they are cleaning They are washing their hands and cleaning their hands afterwards, and they're maintaining that social distancing. Under the transitions, arrivals, and dismissals, I do want to tell you that upon arrival to school, every student and the principals have been working diligently hard on this. They have set aside different entrances from their exterior doors and have grouped kids, whether it's by grade level or alphabet, to enter and exit those areas. And so the signage will also be available there. And as they arrive, there will be those that have been trained on the thermometers, those touchless thermometers. They will be trained and able to take their temperature as quickly as possible to get kids in. Our first and foremost is we don't want kids congregating for a large amount of time and too many kids in one area, especially coming in the main entrance door. So our principals have been working hard to designate different doors and separate students into smaller groups. We all know that recess is important. I know that if you ask some kids, they will say, "What's your favorite subject?" And they'll say recess. And so we don't want to take that away from them. And so we are providing some guidelines and ways for recess to happen safely. So that is being created as well. And then of course, electives. We know that reading, writing, and arithmetic are the foundation, but electives also play a strong role. And so today, our team met and we discussed, what does physical education look like? What will it look like? What can we do to prepare for it? And in the future, we will be looking at the fine arts, music, choir, band, those kinds of things, as well as other electives to ensure that we provide guidance to those that are teaching that content area and that subject. Through the guidelines of the Department of Public Health, they've also stated that we are not allowed to eat in the cafeteria. So breakfast and lunch will be served and eaten in the classrooms under the supervision of our wonderful teachers, who I know are eager to come back and see those faces of our students. And so I don't think they count on seeing them more, but breakfast and lunch will be in the classrooms. And so we will have protocol as to how to serve breakfast and lunch, how to clean up after breakfast and lunch. So yeah, that's another area that's being addressed under safety protocols. Next slide, Andrew, please. Mr. Vasquez.
Hi. As I mentioned earlier, we will have training for our bus drivers, and we certainly are counting on our transportation staff to assist in these efforts. We have always considered the bus an extension of the classroom. Therefore, we will be consistent with our precautionary measures. We expect to enforce the 6-foot social distancing rule by alternating seats and the side of the seat, meaning that on one seat, the student will sit by the window, and the other, the student will sit by the aisle, and so we'll be alternating. We will provide some of the same devices that we are bringing to the classrooms, such as signs, hand sanitizer, things of that nature. Some routes run 2 or 3 tiers. After dropping students at the elementary school, they may do a route for the middle school, and then some even do a 3rd route with the high school or niches. We are coordinating schedules with the principals to allow us time to disinfect all buses between each new campus. There is still a lot of work to be done before we complete the scheduling of routes and times. There is some information. One of the reasons for that is we need some additional information that we currently nobody has at this moment. But we prepared ourselves and we're ready to implement any changes to our schedules in coordination with the principals. what I was mentioning before is the ability to have some time also to disinfect the buses in between picking up a group of students from the next. We will not be able to check temperatures at the bus stop. There are several logistical reasons and also practical reasons for not taking the temperatures there. As Dr. Reyes said, the expectation is that students take their temperatures outside before going outside.
Classroom.
And again, the temperatures will be checked before coming into the building. Additionally, we will assist the child nutrition services with the delivery of meals during the online sessions before the students return to the campuses. So there is a lot of work to be done in this department.
Thank you. Next slide, Andrew. So again, as we have stated, we always welcome our community and our parents onto the campuses. However, again, because of this pandemic, we are asking all campus events and activities held on campus to be suspended until further notice. So we're asking that those meet and greets, those open houses, parent conferences, that they're all held virtually. And I will tell you that we've had some great success with Zooms with parents. I mean, we see a lot more parents participate because it's more convenient. They're at home and they're able to log on and participate in many of our activities. So, you know, there's some plus things that can come out of this. We are asking that no field trips be taken until further notice again, but we're also highly encouraging and challenging our teachers to come up with some ideas about some virtual field trips. No sense in, just like the pandemic has no boundary, well, that creativity and to do things virtually, that has no boundary. So we highly encourage those virtual field trips. Next slide. So now we get to the point, well, what if the virus appears in our school, in one of our schools? So we do have some steps that we have already prepared, and we do want to tell you, we want to be proactive. I'm sure everyone does, but we want to be proactive and not reactive to escalating a crisis of any sort. So we have prepared some steps to address if the virus does appear in our schools. Our action plan, we will definitely have in place to address a student or staff member that has been lab confirmed with COVID-19. One of the things that I want to jump to communication first or next is that homeschool communication is vital during this situation. It is going to be about parent education and about that two-way communication. Because if a parent realizes or they know that someone in their home or their own child has tested positive for COVID, we have to know about it. And it's not that we are trying to be nosy, it is that we have to ensure that if the child was there yesterday, that we are able to provide the information to those that were in contact with that child. And I do want to make sure that I define what it means to be in contact with a positive case. Contact means that you must be in close proximity for more than 15 minutes with that person. So just because you brush them in the hallway does not mean that you've been in contact with a person. So we have to make sure we're providing this parent educational component, but also for our staff, because we don't want anyone panicking that, oh my goodness, I looked at that person, and so now I must have COVID. So we have to ensure that everyone is knowledgeable about what it means to be in contact with a lab confirmed COVID case. So homeschool communication is going to be very important. I do want to also mention that when a community member, a parent has to inform us of a positive case, we want to protect their privacy, okay? And so we are asking parents to contact the principal or the assistant principal directly, not to call it in and say, hey, Miss So-and-so, I wanted to let you know that my child tested positive, or leave a message. We don't want that. What we want is that there is direct contact with the principal or the assistant principal so that the person's privacy is held to its utmost confidentiality. Okay, so we are going to be rolling out some of those protocols and of course informing our parents. Intervention, we will have intervention, so we will be abiding by the Department of Public Health's orders. And I will tell you, this team worked 4 hours from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. last Tuesday, working on our safety protocols in this area of intervention. And then 4 days, 5 days later, they changed the intervention. So you have to know that we are constantly revising this as new updates come up and new orders come up. And so the established criteria has been revised effective on Sunday. And so we will now be changing those safety protocols to meet those needs and that information. And of course, we will abide by our notification requirement. That is something that is required by schools, that we follow the school notification requirement. And once we know a lab confirmed COVID-19 case has been identified, we will ensure that those people that need to be notified will be notified. And please understand that, so let's take the example. If a parent calls us and says their child has tested positive, and let's say they have been cocooned in one area, they have not been transitioned to other classes or to other areas, then only those people that they've been in contact with for more than 15 minutes, so their classroom, the teacher, the students, just because the principal walks in and walks back out does not mean that the principal is now exposed as a contact. So we want to make sure that it's based on who needs to know and who's been in contact with that child. And then of course, what path that child took during the time that they were there. So there's some very specific criteria, and I'm very proud to say our nurses have been trained on contact tracing through the Hopkins University. And so we are prepared and we are knowledgeable about how we can address it, along with knowing that if there is a case that we have to report it to our Department of Public Health. And then of course they help guide us. So I do want to tell you, I believe we are ready to respond to positive cases. We already have our letters drafted so that if we do have to notify people, we're ready to go with step by step. And so we'll be developing our checklist to be able to articulate it to the campus staff and to the leaders so that we are able to let them know the step-by-step process. So that's being done. Mr. Vasquez?
Regarding the disinfecting and the area and path of travel, if there is a suspected case, there will be additional protocols that we will need to follow, and those will be documented and training will be provided. I also wanted to mention how at each campus, Dr. Reyes, Nurse Berumen, and in coordination again with the principals and the nurses, we created a separate room we have a nurse's office, but we now created a secondary room, which we're calling the checkup room. This is the room where we will assist students that display symptoms. And so that way we don't have two groups of students in the same room. We need to do some interventions, some work, actual construction work, minor, but still some construction work in those areas to make them feasible for use once students return.
I also want to, and thank you for doing that, Mr. Vasquez, for stating about the care office and the checkup office that we will now have for the nurses. Another area that we need to talk about is immunizations. Vaccines are still required at the beginning of the school year, and that will be maintained and that will be enforced. We must have all of our students with updated immunizations, and that includes the children that are not of school age, because you have to understand that the safety of everyone involved includes the influenza vaccination, the vaccinations that are needed at the different age groups, because if you compound those along with the COVID, we could have some very serious situations happening in our society. So Ganutillo is going to be very robust in contacting families when they submit their registration on immunizations. And of course, again, it all deals with that parent education component about immunizing our students. We are also putting we're walking the talk, I should say, because we are offering an immunization clinic on August 17th that will be held at AMS in their gym. And so we are trying to bring that support to our community so that immunization clinic will be able to help us with updating those immunizations for our students. So absolutely. Okay, last slide. So I know we gave you a quick overview of this it's a 23-page document right now, and it will be posted on the webpage. We've spoken with Lorenzo Rodriguez, and so it's going to be under the tab of the 2020-2021 school reopening information. There will be a separate tab called Health Guidance. In that health guidance, we will have information on the immunization. We will have our safety protocols. We are looking at putting our nurse protocols and guidelines there. So our parents, again, we want to be as transparent as possible. But on the flip of that, please realize this is a living document. And as I stated, we put information in and it's hot off the press. And then all of a sudden we get new guidelines. And so we're having to redo or revise. But that's okay. That's what it's about right now. And so we'll get that done. We know that no single action or set of actions will completely eliminate the risk of COVID-19 transmission, but implementation of several of these coordinated interventions can greatly reduce the risk. And that is our whole goal, is to let students come back safely and to ensure that health, safety, and welfare are our priorities. So with that being said, I think that sums up what we've done. And if any of you are interested in seeing the entire document, we are going to try, well, we were going to post it tomorrow, but now we've got these new guidelines. So now we have to go in and revise them and then we'll post it, but we will get it up there as soon as possible. So hopefully by the end of this week.
Mr. Chair,
Just a minute, Ms. Brigham.
thank you.
Administration, is that all on this item that you're on?
No, I do want to, right now we're working with a company and with Dr. Reyes and Ms. Baruman that can actually give a child a test and we'll know in 15 minutes. There are some stipulations in there that we have questions on. But again, we've been so busy, but we will go back to that company and say, these are the items that we really want to talk about. And because we know Socorro is going to implement it this year. EPISD has had this opportunity for the last 3 years. But again, Dr. Reyes and Ms. Baruman, we've been running and so we now everybody's a COVID expert. Everybody can make face shields. Everybody can disinfect. Everybody. So we are very meticulous on who we spend our time with. But we are going to go back, and Dr. Reyes has given me bullets of we need to talk about this, and that. But again, if we can get that test back in 15 minutes, once we get that child, I think that would be a very, very good thing for the community.
Well, that's a great program to have. I view that as really a necessity because tests that individuals are getting now, they're getting delayed by, whether delayed for a week or more than a week, then they're almost useless because
Right.
they'll be exposed in some other manner after the test. So I'm glad you all are working on that. So, and if we get those tests within 15 minutes response, I guess that's actually perfect. And that's really almost a necessity for us to have if we're going to do face-to-face instruction during the pandemic. So, okay. Anything else from administration? Okay. I'll entertain questions from the board at this time. Real quick, Ms. Brigham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to just absolutely congratulate and applaud all the administration. Dr. Reyes, Bruno, Nurse Baruman, and the principals. I know this is a lot of work, and I'm thanking you so much. It's necessary. And yes, I would love a copy. You just need to put draft on the front of it because I don't think it will ever be convinced one solid. But thank you very much. And the one question to the administration I have, I know you, we don't know how long this is going to go for. As far as, are we going to make sure that the replacement of any PPEs are not going to come out of campus budgets?
Yes, in fact, we received our PPE this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we distributed to the campuses.
What
So,
about replacement, sir? If you have to have replacements, are we setting something up as a district wide?
well, I think that's when we're gonna know how much we have, how much are gonna
Okay.
be used, because it all depends. I mean, hopefully this vaccine, I mean, right now, that looks like very promising, but yes, we will not take away from campus budgets.
That's all I needed to hear, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
I have a question.
Mr. Chair, okay.
Just a minute, Ms. Searles. Ms. Trout.
Sure.
Yes, thank you very much. On page number 14, and also on page 20, where it says 2020-2021 school reopening information, I wonder if it could be possible, Dr. Galaviz, to have a virtual tour and what the classrooms will look like with a healthy distance. This is like Dr. Reyes was saying, that we would like to be the most transparent as we wanted. Will be very nice that we could post it on YouTube so the parents, they could go and see, you know what, this is going to be their learning environment with a healthy distance. Will be very nice if you like take a video and then post it so the parents we can go and visit how the healthy distance will look like in the classrooms.
No, it's a great idea, Ms. Trout. In fact, that's what we're waiting on August. Right now, we've been preliminary looking at campuses, and they have maps where everything should be. And once we have that, we are going to do to go and let parents know that, you know, we're COVID ready. Whereas, you know, we're ready to go, and your safety, be safe, be smart, and we're going to do our part. So
Definitely. Thank you very much. That's all my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trout. Anybody
Thank you, Mr.
else?
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Searles.
Yes, sir. So I have 3 questions. Dr. Galaviz, we've just entered into a huge contract for new lights in our schools, the LED lights. Part of that contract had the blue lights in them. Will those be installed up and running by the time school starts?
well, I think that was extra, according to Bruno. And so, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, is that will not be included?
Oh, I'm so
Because
sorry.
that was, the number 87,000 comes to my head of how much that would cost extra.
Okay.
But we might be able to, since Bruno has already offset that cost because he's already added some LED lighting at the high school.
I'd
I know
seen that.
We're working at that price, so
Okay,
it would.
that's a good enough answer. And my next question was to Bruno. Bruno, are we changing our schedule of air filter changings, and are we upgrading our air filters to accommodate the change of air and the ventilation issue?
The filters will be replaced, all of them. It was my understanding that we were only pending the high school, just because of the size of it. We always leave that to the end. We can't replace the filters with anything more than what the units are designed for. There are certain efficiencies for each type of unit, and unfortunately, we can't. If we put a more efficient filter on the same unit, the unit is going to decrease its operational ability. And
So with that said, do you then change them more often?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes, we are
How
looking
often?
at, we typically change them once a year. We are considering the possibility of changing them twice a year. So during the winter break, we're considering the option of changing the filters again.
I would sure like to impress that I think that that's more than necessary. That should be standard protocol at this place, at this time. So I hope that you will change those filters at Christmas time for the safety of the children. And then Dr. Reyes, or I'm not sure who to ask this one of, but I've seen studies done where many schools are going back with the same class as the year before, that they're not changing the cohort, the makeup of the classroom. They're, in so doing, that the children will feel comfortable and have friends already, not have to make new friends or feel estranged. Have we thought of doing that in any way?
I know that Ms. Rocha and Dr. Kearney have been looking at the different learning models. I think that would be difficult, Ms. Searles, because we don't know at this point how many students are going to be
will return. I understand.
Yes, are coming back to face, and how many will be doing remote learning.
Okay.
So I will tell you that I am working with the lead counselor and the social workers, and we are coming up with a social emotional learning component that we would like to embed into the learning models that
Wonderful.
will be posted onto the website too. So parents know how we are trying to assist students socially, emotionally, mentally, and behaviorally.
Very
Yes.
good.
Well, that was the issue I'm thinking, is the social emotional, that if you move them as a group, they're already comfortable. They don't have to feel that, first of the year, isolation, so to speak, where we got to make new friends. So thank you. And I so appreciate all you've done. Bravo. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rose. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to give kudos to staff. I know it's been crazy times, and especially with different guidelines that are coming either from the federal, state, and the politics involved, but you all are going along and doing what's right for kids. And so I just wanted to thank you all for that in these times. So.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, staff, administration, everybody, for your presentation. I see you guys got a good handle on it. I do want can't stress how important the testing issue that Dr. Galaviz is looking into with respect to that. I guess you can give us a presentation further down the road, Dr. Galaviz. Under what terms would those be, and what would be the cost either to the district or to the individual students or family and staff that will be tested on that? Have you gotten any details on those issues?
There was just, they sent the contract and then I gave it to the powers that be, a lot smarter people than me, and they just started going through it, and we just have other questions that we have to ask. But a good thing is that since we have till September 8th, I just felt other things of getting our buildings ready were more important, because they said they could roll this out pretty fast once we accept. And according, I don't, it's, I don't, and Steve, the person said under CH Legal that I could act on behalf of the district and sign this contract.
Yeah,
Steve?
yes,
Okay. All right, so you wouldn't have to bring it back to the board then. You'd be able to negotiate that as on behalf of the district. I can't stress how important that is to get the this testing protocol in place before our students come back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, anybody else? You know, Bruno, one other thing with respect to the water issue, we may be wanting to look down the road to see if what it would take further down the road. I know you guys are busy right now, but in terms of either doing our own drinking water system rather than doing, you know, I know your plans are to do initially bottled water for when the students come back face to face, but we may want to look at doing and see what we can do for the district in terms of during our own water, our drinking water, getting
Yes,
a more purification system. If we're going to be down the road looking at this, even without the pandemic, that might be something that we would want to do anyways. So,
we submitted information regarding the quantity of drinking fountains available in our district to a company that is offering donations to school districts. And so we're waiting for additional information from them. There is a possibility that the district may, emphasis on the word may, receive a donation from this company. But yes, this is in the near future, plans to start replacing the bubbler type of drinking fountain with water filling stations.
okay. All right. Well, good. I'm glad you're looking at that. And the other thing, my question with regard to the filters of the air quality in all the buildings, especially, is I know some of the units are only designated, for example, the HVAC units are designated for only certain classrooms, right? It's not on a central where the entire classroom are on the same ventilation system, right?
That is correct. We have all kinds of systems out there, but we've looked at the ventilation issues. Moving forward, one of the concerns that we have is the control of the humidity, particularly during the winter months.
Right.
The air is dry, and then by introducing heat with the furnaces, we dry that air even more. So we're looking at the possibility of, for the winter, having some sort of active control of humidity in the buildings.
Okay. Additionally, when you guys are changing out the filters, is it possible or is it even advisable that those filters themselves you may be able to disinfect somehow before reinstalling them back in?
So that is part of the research that we continue to do. Like Dr. Galaviz said before, there's a lot of different opinions on the matter. What we will do is we will follow ASHRAE recommendations. This is the American Society of Heating and the association that regulates air conditioning in buildings. So we will follow those standards.
Okay, well, good, because I see the possibility that if in fact we're allowed to do that, that even though we don't replace the filters out, you know, for whatever time period, that at least in the interim between the filter changes, that we can actually do disinfecting of the filters throughout this period before they're replaced. Is that a possibility?
It's definitely a possibility, yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, I would think that even being able to spray Lysol here and there on the filters where the intake is, right?
Again, not necessarily Lysol. We need to find
something else.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Something that might have more efficacy.
Without detriment to the operation of the unit.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys are taking a look at that. All right. Anybody else? Any questions? All right. Thank you, everybody, for all the time. I know this is some trying times, and we appreciate all the work that you all are doing on these matters. All right, Sonia, next
Yes,
agenda.
sir. Yes, sir. Item 2, discussion and possible action regarding TEA waiver request for a 4-week extension to reopen schools for face-to-face learning.
Can you get Miss Rocha on,
She's there.
please? So I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes. Yes, we can.
So, this was
Yeah.
an offer by the TEA to extend after we do the 4 weeks starting August 17th, that we can do an additional 4.
Wonderful.
And for me, I didn't read the fine print, I think, with that. And so what I'd like to do is I can bring this back in August, because the fine print says I can't be, with the submission of this form, the district attests that teachers, staff, and parents were consulted about the transition plan. And tomorrow we have DAC. So it's also August 17th. And I'm talking to Ms. Rocha, we can do it 1 week before the Labor Day. If that's correct, Ms. Rocha?
Yes, it says it on the bottom.
And then specifically, the rolling 7-day average, that was just given to me today by Dr. O, our health. And so, but he's going to give us a metrics on Friday or next Monday. So we could, he did not know that we had to submit this form to TEA, or these guidelines, excuse me, for TEA. They want specifically what data are you going to use, or what science. So I just feel better if I could talk to DAC staff, put this out to have the schools talk to their PTOs, because we have time. I don't think it's a big rush, but I just wanted you to see what, because what you have, Ms. Rocha, we looked under the WHO. That's why you have that 5%. But today I asked Dr. O specifically, hey, I need to give something to my board or show them something on what we're looking for. And then he gave me that 7.5%, the positivity rate. But again, like I said, I'd like to take this to DAC, get their opinion, talk to staff and parents, and then bring it back to you in August. Let you know I did that fine print. I just didn't feel my full conscience that I could attest to that. I know that.
Mr. Chair, or I have a question to
All right,
Dr. Galaviz.
Is that it, Dr. Galaviz?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Brigham.
Mr. Chair, this is to you, Mr. Chair, and to Dr. Galaviz. Dr. Galaviz, so we can't just attest that we agree, that we agree with you putting in this waiver? We couldn't do that tonight for you, sir?
No, you could. But
and then could you just, and then you could, because then you could bring it to DAC, you'd have your I's and T's crossed, and then you could just submit it. But it's up to you, whichever way you want it. I just would say, I would vote that we approve the administration's recommendation to appeal to TEA, of course, following the TEA guidelines and the fine print, and then letting the administration submit it in their timely manner.
Yeah, that'll work too.
I'd like to do. So I'd like to ask for that, Mr. Chair, as a motion. Yes.
Second. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Before any other comments or discussions from the board?
I do have a comment. Ms. Brigham, I in no way mean to cross you, because I agree with what you're saying and doing. But I'm reading the small print where it says requirements. the board
Yeah.
could look on page 22. And
22?
yeah, up at the top. And it's got section 1 requirements. Maybe Steve Blanco could chime in on this to just make sure we do it properly.
Oh, absolutely.
It says here the board must take action to authorize this waiver by specific vote and cannot otherwise delegate the waiver application to the superintendent.
Superintendent.
Yeah,
Right.
that's okay. You can do what Ms. Brigham is
Yeah.
suggesting by
Okay,
passing the
good.
motion subject to the administration complying with all of those
He has to
requirements.
comply, right, and that was in my motion that he complies with all the fine print.
Perfect.
And-
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions from the board? Okay, yeah, I agree we need to do this, but and I guess we can speak on that issue on the next agenda item that the board instructed both administration and us and our council to send a letter both to the TEA commission and as well as the governor and other elected officials, and we'll discuss that. But you know, I'm glad that this action that was taken by the governor was after we had our board meeting last week.
Yes.
So in certain respects, it kind of you know, ameliorated some of what our request was going to be, but not completely. And just for the board's knowledge, we did modify that letter, and we are now making certain requests exactly as the board has instructed. And that letter should probably go out or is going out as we speak.
Yes.
Certainly, now we'll discuss a little bit more on the next agenda item. But
Mr. Coronado?
yeah, just a second, Ms. Charles.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm glad that the governor did this, but you know what? This is still not what we're requesting. Okay. This is just merely delaying things and piecemealing things. I don't think that anybody with any specific knowledge of what we've been going through would think that this pandemic is only going to last another 8 weeks from the start of school.
Right.
Okay? So I just think that they're delaying the inevitable, and that's why I think we still need to proceed with the letter as the board instructed us. And I think we just need to get a little bit firmer on that. I know the governor came out with a waiver of was it the 5th and 7th grade, Dr. Galavis, for promotion?
5th and 8th grade promotion.
5th and 8th grade for promotions. But they didn't still do anything about where we're requesting also with respect to waiver of the STAR test for the entire year. So, and I guess we can take a discussion on that on the next item, Dr. Galavis.
So there's a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second then. Any further discussion? Ms. Searles?
I was just going to add that the governor had, my understanding was yesterday, said that there would be no STAR test this year.
Not, I believe what he said.
Okay, so no other, that was it. Thank you.
All right.
It was to allow one of the grades, right? But not necessarily no testing at all.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Some of the grades, yeah.
It was only for the 2 grades for promotion.
Yes.
5th and 8th grade.
Third and fifth.
All right. Or 3rd and 5th, was it?
No, 5th and 8th.
5th and 8th.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sonia, pull the board, please.
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham,
Yes.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Searles,
Yes,
and Mrs. Trout.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next agenda item, Sonia.
Item 3, discussion and possible action regarding TEA waiver request for hybrid model of instruction at CHS.
All right.
I will,
Ms. Claps.
I'm gonna move that we approve that.
Do we made a motion? Can we make a motion before discussion?
I think we should, yes, approve. it.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion for a waiver request to TA for hybrid instruction for Canutillo High School.
I second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. And before we proceed on a vote, I'd like to ask administration if you have any thing you want to say on this item?
I don't know, Ms. Rocha, Ms. Clapp, this is more for like big high schools,
Mhm.
to give high schools more of an opportunity to provide more of a hybrid, if you will, like we suggested, and we'll be able to follow what we sent you all, at least for the high school and Northwest Early College, in order to give them that opportunity to be safe. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, again, we need approval from the board.
Okay. All right, any comments from the board? All right, absolutely, this is the way we need to proceed, guys. I think this is probably the safest way to reintegrate our kids back to school.
Mhm.
Everybody knows that our students are probably better off being educated in person, but only if it can be done safely. And so,
Mhm.
to that effect, I think this model will allow us to, depending on the number of students that want to come back to school once that is allowed. Obviously, at the high school, we have bigger classes, so if everybody wants to come back, there's no way we can do that safely with the social distancing. So we have to have a local control over this to be able to let us call the shots on how we're going to reintegrate our kids back to school. So this is really an imperative. I can't see anything more important in terms of the design of the safety of our kids and letting us do this locally here.
So just FYI, board, the Attorney General ruled over the Public Health Department. So a public health department cannot shut down a school blanketly. So Attorney General says that lies solely on the school district.
Oh, okay.
That was today. So I just got
Oh.
that today. And
Okay.
I'll send that out to y'all.
Thank you.
Can you repeat that?
That the Attorney General said that a public health department cannot close down schools. That it goes beyond their jurisdiction as a public health. That the only one that can tell, the only entity that can open and close schools are school districts. But then that tells me, then why is Commissioner Morath keep telling us that we have
Right.
to turn in asynchronous plans? And we
It's
have to
So-
do waivers and
Yep.
I don't know. It's very.
But the school districts are going to have to depend on the public health entity to advise them as to whether
Yes,
it's
sir.
safe or not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is maybe for a future discussion, guys.
Okay.
But there are some districts that are hiring their own medical expert in case that there was a difference of opinion between the local health authorities in that district. And so we may consider doing that and hiring our own person, and maybe we might be able to do that with the Far West Texas so that the region can maybe do that
Mr. Chair,
to assist us in that respect. Mr. Rodriguez.
just real quick, this is what it says. Austin Attorney General Ken Paxton today issued guidance on the opening of local schools for the upcoming school year. During the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, responding to a request from Stephen Mill Mayor Doug Svin, while playing an important role in protecting the health of school children and employees, local health authorities may not issue sweeping orders closing schools for the sole purpose of preventing future COVID-19 infections. Rather, their role is limited by statute to addressing specific actual outbreaks of disease. School officials, both public and private, are the appropriate ones to decide whether, when, and how to open.
Mhm.
That's what his ruling is.
All right, that's still not super clear as which school officials. So
Nothing's been super clear from what the state has provided.
that is true. That is true.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Searles.
Dr. Galavis, with this model and that the students will be attending remotely if they so desire, will they be required to be at their computer, wherever that happens to be, in their little computer area, at the same time to get our attendance that the children who are face-to-face are?
Yes, the high school, we are planning a synchronous model
Okay.
at the high school.
So that there will be no issue with the attendance?
Well, it
Well, I
depends.
mean, that theoretically, the children who are going by computer will check in at the same time that the children that are going face-to-face will.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. That's all. Thank you, Mr.
Right.
Chair.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, hearing none, then Sonia, please pull the board.
Yes, Ms. Brigham,
Yes.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes,
Mr. Payan? Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Searles,
Yes.
and Mrs. Trout.
Yes.
Motion passes.
all right, next agenda item.
Item 4, discussion and possible action to address payroll for employees and staff not scheduled to work during partial school district closure, and develop a resolution of the board to adjust or direct payments to these employee classifications.
All right, Ms. Carrasco,
Yes, sir.
you're on.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. This item was placed on the agenda because there were questions in regards to us starting our new year now. You know, what are employees going to be doing? For example, those that are in our auxiliary trades, for example, bus drivers, food service. The question arose, given that we will be having remote learning from the 17th until September 8th. So the question was, what are we doing with employees? I can tell the board that we do have a plan where we're going to repurpose positions so that they will be able to help in the short term for this time, during the time that we will be doing the remote learning. I know there's going to be a lot of work. For example, with food service, the cafeterias at the campuses will still be open to prepare breakfast and lunch. They will be doing the curbside and the delivery. So of course, staff at each campus is going to be needed. Bus drivers, monitors, they're going to be able to assist. And so, as I said, for the short term, our auxiliary personnel will be working, and we will have, we do have a plan in place to repurpose any position, not only within the auxiliary portion of it, but you know, if we have aides that during this time, we're going to repurpose positions so that we can keep everybody working and busy.
Okay. So obviously during the first 4 weeks and the next 4 weeks, we're not going to have a lot of the bus drivers going out and picking up kids. Or what are the bus drivers going to be doing?
Well, in talking to transportation and to food service, I know that their bus drivers are going to be delivering the meals just like they did over the summer, as they've done since March, that they're making the runs and delivering the meals. They're going to be doing that for all of our campuses. I know that in the transportation itself, we're going to have a lot of thorough cleaning of the buses and disinfecting. So they are going to be kept busy.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
Well,
Martha, what, so, okay, obviously the maintenance people are probably going to be very busy in preparing the schools and the buildings for the coming back whenever the kids come back. But during all this time, are they going to be busy doing that? What is the plan?
Well, everybody's going to be busy. Maintenance workers are going to be working the campuses, making sure that everything is working. Custodians are going to be busy organizing the classrooms, getting them cleaned and disinfected. We are going to have staff at the campuses in and out. So all that cleaning needs to be done on a regular basis. We are having, we did open up, and I just want to mention this to the board, that we have opened up the timestamp button in the team system so that everybody is clocking in and out, and they can do so also remotely. So they don't have to be on district premises. So the expectation is that we're having all our staff clock in and out to make sure that, we're gonna monitor and make sure everybody right now has a role and has work to do. And so right now, everybody is going to be pulling their own weight and getting the work done, and in expectation of bringing the students on board.
Okay, well, is everybody going to be clocking remotely?
No, none of the auxiliary staff will have that access. Auxiliary staff, remember, are all your food service, custodians, maintenance, police services. All of those folks, the expectation is that they don't have the flexibility in their jobs to do anything remotely. They've got to be on site. So auxiliary staff will have to clock in and out from their job location.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yeah, just a second, Ms. Earls.
Sure.
Martha, do you have anything else to present to us?
No, sir. I just wanted to, clarify and assure the board that, we are looking into all of the positions, making sure that everybody is contributing to make a successful school year.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you all are repurposing some of our employees that we may not going to need for during the time that the schools are doing remote instruction, because I know we are going to have to hire additional personnel for other things that, other duties that are going to be coming up. So I want to make sure that some people are not staying home. We're paying them when we could repurpose them. Now, to that end, I'm going to ask legal and you, Martha, whether we can assign other duties to these individuals and whether they can say, no, well, I don't want to do that. That's not in my job description. Steve, what are we going to do with those individuals?
The vast majority of the folks that we're talking about are at-will employees. So they do have a choice. You're right. Any employee could say, well, no, that's not what I was hired to do. The response then would be, okay, well, you're not working, you're not going to get paid. Unless the board, and that's why this item's on here, unless the board wanted to make another resolution where folks that would otherwise be working but are not because of a temporary or partial shutdown should be compensated. We did that during the initial phases of the emergency closure. Only the board can decide to do that. Otherwise, anybody who's an at-will employee paid by the hour, if they're not working, they shouldn't be being paid. It would be a gift of public funds.
Right. And well, now, however, we did stop by order of the board. We did stop the extra pay, right? The time and a half, the premium pay.
That's correct. That stopped on May 22nd.
All right. And because we don't have a new budget year, we don't need to redo that, Steve?
Do what? Emergency pay?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe we're going back into an emergency pay scenario. If you want to, you can.
Okay. Well, because remember, we have our policy indicates that. I just want to make sure that what the board did back in, I think it was April or May, where we stopped it, that's we don't.
Yeah, you're not required to act any further unless you want to reenact the premium pay obligations. The superintendent controls the declaration of an emergency, and if the board wants to pay people who are not working, only the board would be able to do that.
Okay.
Now, we can come up with a resolution to allow for it, but I think the way to handle it is what Martha is saying, is you're going to repurpose employees for a short period of time so they can continue to be paid.
Exactly. Well, during the time that the school is closed for remote instruction, obviously. Okay. All right. Any comments, questions from the board?
Yes, sir, I did have one.
Ms. Searles?
Ms. Carrasco,
Yes,
can
ma'am.
you tell me, will the same procedure be enacted on the employees who have stipends?
The employees that, we had sent a notice out letting employees know that, given our environment and things change from day to day, if an activity did not take place, then the stipend would not be paid. However, that's only if the activity doesn't take place. We're willing to prorate, we're willing to, if part of the activity, to pay that. I know that I'm working closely with Coach Brooks. I met with him this morning to talk about some of the activities that they're working on the athletic side. I know that Ms. Rocha and I met to discuss also about UIL. Ms. Clapsaddle has discussion scheduled with that. So if activity takes place, we will go ahead and pay some of these stipends.
And if, say, the activity doesn't take place, I'm going to just say band. I'm going to pick that one out. Band. If we can't have a marching band in place, then that stipend theoretically would go away. But if the band director could say, you know what, I've been teaching these kids online. I've been doing, all the things that we would normally do in person. You can see here that I've been doing all of that, whatever that equals, to these children. I've still had contact with the children, it didn't look like it did last year, but neither does anything else. If they can show time with student, can they get that stipend, even if the event, so to speak, has been canceled?
Ms. Searles, I'm going to say yes,
Okay.
because it's very important during this time that child, that's why we want these activities to continue, because we want another adult to touch that kid. So if the band director can, in the morning or afternoon, because they can't do it during school time, but as long as it's another adult to reach out to that child and say, hey, did you do your homework? Hey, let's practice. Because you never know when this pandemic's going to go away.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Correct.
And so we
Right.
want to, again, be fair, and we want, again, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't want our employees to have that uncertainty of, last year I had that extra $1,000, and this year I'm not going to have that. That's such an added stress on someone's life when they could still do something, whatever something equaled. So we can feel sure that our employees will get their stipends if indeed they show
it's
some
like
type of activity.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you, sir, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it.
All right. Dr. Galaviz, how are we going to monitor? And I see an issue with how are we going to monitor that they've done compliance with this, and how are you going to prorate that?
Well, that's how right now, Ms. Carrasco met with Mr. Brooks and Ms. Clapsaddle to devise a plan and how it's going to be monitored and who's going to monitor it, and what evidence are we going to accept and not accept that it happened. So again, that's what we're doing right now.
Good.
Again, we want to also, again, for me, it's just another adult to reach out to that child to let them know it's safe, it's okay. And again, I'm just going to throw something out there. Hey, let's do 25 push-ups, during a Zoom, again, it's just, I don't want, because there's a way to, again, this pandemic, there's a way to be creative as we go forward. And again, we don't want to just give the money away because it's not my money, it's taxpayer money, like Steve says. That's a gift of public funds. But we will, and maybe to come back to the board, and here's our metrics, and this is how we're going to monitor it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, because ultimately it is local taxpayers that are paying for this, and while I don't want people to be hurt during this time, we still have a duty to make sure that that activity, what they were paid to do for that stipend to do, that is being done, or at least part of it, so that we can, if part of it's being done, that we can prorate it. It's
Mr. Chair?
a matter of being fair to both the taxpayers and to the employees. So I would like to see bring what plan y'all have in effect about how you're going to do that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Rodriguez.
I just think we're in, difficult times, especially for some of our employees. And I think letting staff work on a way for them to, because some of these people rely on some of those stipends, whether it's to pay the gas or to pay a car payment. And I do agree that having, whether it's a coach or band director or somebody else, just having that reach after working hours, I think is critical. As we know, many of these people that, many of these students that participate in some of these extracurricular activities rely on that as a way to get through high school. And I think those individuals that have the mentorship and stuff could help, especially in these times. So I think it's good that administration is coming up with a way to do this. So.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're fair to, ultimately the taxpayer who's, footing this, these funds for these stipends. And so I'd like to see what the administration's plan is and how you're going to prorate that and monitor or verify that the activity or what activity took place. So, okay. Anybody else? Any comments?
Are there any comments from the public?
Sonia?
No.
Okay. All right. We will probably, I guess, discuss this at the next board meeting. Then administration have come up with a plan on Martha. And that way you can, we can further discuss this item along with, I'm sure, other issues that are going to come up, including of when we go back face to face. If we have some employees that don't want to go back and they feel either for issues of the pandemic or whatever, we'll have to deal with this and get our legal counsel involved about what we're going to do with that. So, all right. Anything further on this item?
Well, it says to develop a resolution of the board.
Yeah, but I don't think
They'll
we're
do
ready
that
for
and bring it back to us?
I think.
Yeah, this is Steve Blanco. We included that language. We didn't know, working through this with Ms. Carrasco and Dr. Galavis as to what to do. We didn't know if we were going to have a group of people that were going to be doing absolutely nothing and stipends would be paid to them. We would need a resolution. That's not the case. It's a plan that they put in place that should work well to just monitor what they're going to do.
And Martha and Dr. Galavis, I think the board would like, with respect to all the other auxiliary employees during at least the remote learning period, whether everybody's going to be involved or not everybody's going to be used, and if so, who's being repurposed, and whether we're having to hire additional people and some people choose not to do the additional assigned duties. I would like to have the administration report to the back to the board at the next meeting.
Yeah. I don't know. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? All right. That takes us to the next agenda item. Sonia?
Yes, sir. Texas Education Agency Corrective Action Plan. Discussion and possible action regarding the alignment of ethical standards for school board members to board operating procedures.
Ms. Saloma, are you on?
I'm on. Hello, board members. How are you?
Hello. Hey, Saloma, how are you?
Thanks for the smile. Thanks for the smile. Board, according to the corrective action plan on the third one, we have to agree to amend the board operating procedures by adopting formal ethical standards for school board members to be included in chapter 1. I've been talking to Ms. Haloma and And I think we sent you the ethical standards. I look at the ethical standards that were in local and our policy, and it kind of reminds me of the 10 Commandments. You know, I mean, you don't go changing the 10 Commandments. I mean, ethics are ethics, and it's the person who wants to follow it. And it's really your actions determine how ethical you are or not ethical, depending upon what everyone defines as ethics. So I recommended to Ms. Haloma, let's just keep our ethics the same because I don't know, Andrew, can you show them, please? Thing ethical and attitude and.
Yes, I believe Ms. Haloma was going to present. Is that
Oh,
correct?
go ahead, Ms. Haloma.
All right, so those have my annotations, but if you want to speak on those, Dr. Galaviz, I can scroll up and down.
No, I'll let you
I
speak.
can't see any of that.
So it's not in the board book, Ms. Searles?
It's
Yes,
in your
sir. Is
printed
that what
copy.
you're looking at? Yes, I
Yes,
have the
the
board book.
code, the
Okay,
ethics,
thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
equity
so-
and attitude, trustworthiness.
Yeah, I've got that.
stewardship.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Page
go ahead, Ms.
35.
Haloma.
So one of the things that I did is that I went ahead and I looked at your code of ethics, and I try to make connections to the operating procedures that you already have in place. So for example, when we look on page 5 under trustworthiness in stewardship, item B, I will strive to involve the community by ensuring that it is fully and accurately informed about our schools, and will try to interpret community aspirations to the school staff. I went to page 14 and I found some evidence of that under item 7.
Okay.
And it is pretty broad though. So as I'm looking, it just says that the boards are going to encourage that participation. So how is this going to take place? When is this going to take place? Is this going to be one trustee? Is it going to be a group of 2 trustees that are going to be doing that? And we kind of engaged in these conversations when we started talking about how to engage the community when before you were going to be adopting those student outcome goals, those board outcome goals. So my suggestion is if we can be a little bit more specific, and this is just an example. This is not how it should look, but like, for example, let me see. For that community input, let me go to my Google document. So if you can see on the screen, and I'm just going to read some of those because I know that Ms. Searles and Ms. Brigham cannot read that, but I just have a section called board promoting vision procedures. So they're going to listen and discuss the vision and the values of the students. At least 2 board members shall co-lead each session intended to accomplish this objective. All board members are welcome to join. There's going to be a presentation slideshow and a written script that the board will approve that is going to be used for this item. So just being a little bit more detailed on that, even like on the calendar, not specific months, but maybe like, the fall semester, the spring semester, when will that be taking place? Because with what you have right now, that's just pretty broad. So if I'm a new board member at Canutillo, I may look at that, but I may still have a lot of questions about how that will be taking place. I took a look at some other items as well. So for example, where it talks about the complaints, I'm going back to page 5 under trustworthiness in stewardship, item E. I will refer all complaints to the proper chain of command. So I found evidence of that on page 13.
Okay.
Page 13, item K. What does immediate safety or liability issue mean? And then we have item 4, so responses to citizen requests or complaints. It just says, follow the school hierarchy or the chain of command. And then, sometimes I think you say that you let the superintendent know. So when do I let, as a trustee, when do I let the superintendent know about the complaint? And how do I urge the citizens to follow that school hierarchy? So if I'm a new trustee, how will I know how I'm going to engage in that process? So once again, this is, let me go to my example. So board member responses to comments and or complaints. So first item, the board members will listen respectfully and remain impartial. The board members will ask if the commentator or the complainant has followed the district's procedures and or chains of command. If they have not, then they're gonna provide the follow steps. So then the trustee has enough information to then let the community member know, they must first speak with the appropriate staff member. If not, then go and talk to the administrator. If not, blah, 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 blah. Follow that chain of commands that is mentioned there, but it's not specific enough. Let me go back. And then we have item 5. So the responses to employees, to employee requests or complaints. So should that response be the same as the citizen requests or complaints? So just kind of like digging a little bit deeper and being more specific on how that will be taking place. There was another item. Let me see, I'm scrolling down. I'm going to page 6 under integrity of character. So item B says that I will consistently uphold all applicable laws, rules, policies, and governance procedures. So for example, one of the things that I found was visiting campuses. What is the procedure? When I went to page 12, it stated, that the trustee will let the superintendent's office or the campus principal or the supervisor of the facility know when they're planning a visit. So like, how much time should they have in advance? Are we going to let the superintendent know so then he can disseminate it to, or she can disseminate it to whoever, that's appropriate to? Is it gonna be 5 minutes before I arrive at the campus? Or do I need to let the superintendent know 24 hours or 48 hours in advance? And then should I provide the purpose for my visit if I'm going to be there as a trustee? Also, if I go down, then we also have item M on page 13. Like if I'm visiting as a parent, should I let the superintendent know, hey, I'm gonna visit this campus as a parent, I'm gonna meet with so-and-so, just to keep that clarity, what's going to be that process. So as I was taking a look at your document, we have the opportunity to bring more clarity. I think this is a perfect time with this team that we have right now. How should that look like? What should those procedures be? Aligning those to your code of ethics.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Ross.
Ms. Aloma, when I read this agenda item, what I'm reading here is this is in reaction to the fact that we have a corrective action plan because we have violated the Texas Education Code. Certain board members have, and that we've been cited as violating that by the TEA. Is that correct? Is that why we're here today? This isn't just an everyday procedure, our annual review of our Board of Ethics, our Code of Honor, and all the other things. Am I correct in assuming this?
Correct.
And do you not think we ought to review the cap a bit as to what the infractions were? I mean, this was very serious, and there were many, many allegations made and many complaints filed, multiple, some by a teacher, some by board members. And I think that we're brushing through this as though it were the annual thing and not of the serious nature that it is, and it's concerning me. And to be honest with you, the president of the board already had to call out one of the board members who was specifically named in the complaint today as being inappropriate and having inappropriate behavior. So I have a problem with us taking such a laissez-faire attitude about this. This is a big deal. We've got a board member who violated the Texas Education Code 11.1511 when she repeatedly identified herself as the board president during a visit to the Canutillo Middle School. Are you with me on that? Do you
Yes,
understand
ma'am.
what?
I understand.
Yes, and the
this
former
is-
board
right.
president implied to the teacher that her contract might not be renewed because she was upset about the teacher's interaction with her daughter, who was a student in the teacher's class.
Ms.
That's a violation. This is part of the cap, Mr. Coronado.
I
We've
understand,
also
but
got,
this is not involved. This is something that the board, the entire board and the district had an agreement with TEA as to how to proceed. Tell us what that agreement was.
precisely, but I think we need to take into effect for our community, for transparency, that that's what this is. That right now, we are having a representative, Ms. Haloma of the TEA, come to us because we've got board members who have violated the Texas Education Code. And I'd like that to be presented as such, that this is not just our annual updating. This is serious business.
Well,
Thank you.
okay, Ms. Searles and Ms. Haloma, you can also tell us that what the agreement was and what the board was supposed to do. And part of that was to go through the Lone Star governance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And can you tell the board or the public, I guess, why we were not able to do the Lone Star governance back since we agreed to do this?
So we've attempted to attend Lone Star Governance. There were some trustees that are here present that attended LSG. However, the district will not get the certificate, the LSG certificate, unless the entire team of 8 attends at the same time. I do have a couple of dates that I will.
Were initially not wanting to go through the Lone Star governance.
I do have a couple of dates that I will share in a little bit, but Ms. Searles, thank you for bringing up that concern. As we're talking about these operating procedures and reviewing that, it is actually, I just did a little bit of the legwork and making those connections. It will be to go back and then once again, provide enough detail of the procedures that you currently have to make sure that they're detailed enough as far as what's the procedure that should be in place and what will happen, which you're going to decide what will happen when that doesn't take place. This is not the final version. This is just a conversation on, this is what I'm proposing that we engage on. And then for us to schedule a time when you as a board have time to discuss and decide how that is going to be addressed as it is aligned to the Code of Ethics. So the only difference
this is not the final thing.
No,
this is a beginning of a procedure because we are missing a board member as well. We don't have full attendance.
Correct. This is not the final version of it. This is just Dr. Galaviz is providing those Code of Ethics to you, the standards of ethics. And then my task would then be to align your procedures to the Code of Ethics as we address some of those issues identified on your CAP.
Thank you, Ms. Saloma. I appreciate that.
And
And Ms. Haloma, part of the Lone Star governance involves dealing with the ethics. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Chair?
Why were we not? Hold on, Ms. Brigham. I've got the floor.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Haloma?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Ms. Haloma, why were when we agreed, the board agreed as a whole that we were going to abide by the Lone Star governance as what we were supposed to do. Why were we not able to do our governance with all trustees?
Can you ask me the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, why were we not able to schedule Lone Star governance as was agreed to by the board?
We've been trying to schedule several dates and we've been having to cancel those dates due to not the entire team of 8 being willing to attend that.
Initially did not provide dates so that we could schedule a Lone Star governance?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms.
Chair.
Brigham.
Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
Hold on,
Mr.
Brigham
everybody.
had a question.
Hold on, everybody. I have the floor and Ms. Coloma is about to speak.
So I do have a couple of dates, and I spoke to Dr. Garcia, Dr. Caravis. We were trying to figure out how to better do this as a board, keeping in mind that you all have November elections coming up. So one of the things that when I spoke to our governance, the Commissioner of Governance at TEA, I asked if we could deliver LSG virtually since we have COVID, and the answer to that was no. That was already tried, and the impact was not what the intent of LSG is. So we have two options. The first option is that we can schedule an LSG session again for Canutillo, and we can do that before your November elections. The benefit to that will be is that I will highly encourage you to invite the trustee candidates that are running for elections in November. So then everybody can attend and your board candidates will know what the expectations are. They will know about Lone Star governance and really what it is that how you will be governing your board. So that's option one. And for that, I just have the tentative date of October 23rd and 24th. That is a Friday and a Saturday. If that's the route that you would like to take, then, we're waiting until everybody submits their, what is it called, their intent to run. That way you'll know who's going to be running and you can invite them, and maybe you can even make it part of that requirement to be part of the, not a requirement, but, highly encourage them to attend that session along with the current team of 8. So that's option one. Option two will be to attend this session. The date that I have is December 4th and 5th. And I just think the time is of the essence because the deadline for this plan is the end of December. So the other 2 dates will be December 4th and 5th. That gives, if there's a change in the trustees, that gives you enough time to sort in whoever is gonna come in. And then schedule that session for December 4th and 5th. Again, that's another Friday and Saturday.
Okay, but that wasn't the question I asked though.
I'm so sorry, you're breaking up with the question. Could you repeat the question?
That's not the question I asked you.
Okay.
The question I asked you was, what was the delay? Which trustees were not agreeing to commit to a date to the Lone Star governors as was agreed to by the board and the district?
The trustees are still missing to attend Lone Star governance is Ms. Brigham and Ms. Searles.
Okay. And in other words, we had provided various dates, which both of them did not want to commit to. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I believe some of you have attended LSG more than once as well.
That's correct. Okay. All right. So the issue is here that the board has agreed to do the Lone Star governance. And I guess a couple of us were not on the board back then when this issue came up. Is that correct? Can you, for the public's knowledge, which 2 board members were not part of this, these issue complaints to TEA and TEA requested? Excuse me?
So I believe when it was, I don't have that with me. I believe that when it was first attended, Mr. Payan was not part of it. You were not part of it. Ms. Brigham and Ms. Searles.
Right. Now I'm talking about the issues related to the complaints and what TEA then had agreed that we do. 2 board members were not present during those issues that were complained about. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that was who?
That was Ms. Brigham and I believe Ms. Searles.
No.
Mr.
I'm asking
Payan and Mr. Coronado. Steve would be better to answer that question.
Yeah.
To ask.
Yeah. Do you have the agreement and with TEA, Ms. Haloma?
I can pull it out. Let
Okay.
me look at my email.
All right, we'll ask Steve. Steve, the issues that were related to with respect to the board of Lone Star governance involved complaints about issues that happened prior to 2 board members that are currently on the board being on the board. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you and Mr. Coronado, Mr. Payan were not on the board during those times.
Okay.
I do
All right.
want to say that I think we're getting a little bit off the agenda topic here. I mean, you're supposed to be, and there is a reason, I get it. There's a background to this and there's a reason why you're having to update these operating procedures, but the agenda item is to discuss and act on the alignment of those standards Ms. Haloma was talking about to your board operating procedures. I think it's best if you let her get through that. And then if there are questions about her proposals, the board can take those up.
Okay, so that's what we need to focus on, Ms. Searles, okay?
Well, yes, but I think it's unfair to our public that they think this is possibly just
Okay,
an annual regular thing instead of the specific corrective action plan taken against certain members of the board.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Hold on, Mr. Rodriguez, hold on.
I think something
And
needs to be clarified.
You're
Ms.
breaking up, Mr. Coronado.
Okay, Ms. Searles, please hold on. We have
Yeah,
direction
yeah.
from legal that we need to listen to Ms. Haloma as to what we need to do.
Yes, we do, but there is a reason that we're all here doing this. And it was a very crucial, important reason because there were bad actions by certain board members.
All right, Ms. Searles, I'm
And
not going to delve into that unless you want to delve into some of the issues as to why you did not want to comply with the TEA directive as agreed to the board to go through Lone Star governance. I don't want to hash those issues out.
that's not on the agenda. The cap is on the
Oh,
agenda,
now
Mr.
it's
Coronado.
Well, it sure is on the agenda if you're going to discuss those issues, Ms. Searles. What I'm telling you is we're not going to be delving into those issues. Legal has told us that we need to listen to Ms. Haloma as to what she's instructing us. And I'm not going to have you delving us out into other side issues. So please focus on the agenda item. Ms. Haloma, you can proceed, please.
So my proposal is for us to set a couple of dates when we can meet and we can talk about what those operating procedures should look like based on the corrective action plan provided by TEA.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Brigham.
Yeah, Miss Paloma, hello. Are any of those things as far as with you? First of all, thank you for doing that with the Code of Ethics. I did go back and I liked your little comments. And I think there was even some more things in there that could be added that, for the comments, but I thought that was a very good start. The other thing is when you're talking about this with the Code of Ethics, as far as meeting, are we going to be doing that virtually? Do you want to do that virtually?
Yes, we will be doing that virtually. I would like for us to get started as soon as we can. I know that we kind of got started before COVID and then we've been delayed. So time is running out.
Okay. That was my question.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brigham.
Mr. Chair, I had the floor next. And
Mr. Rodriguez.
just to clarify, I'm okay with the recommendations as presented by Ms. Haloma. I know you've been working diligently with us and with a staff as well as the board president. And I just want to clarify some of the stuff because, I think some of the accusations which were, Mr. Blanco, if you could please come on the record. We had 2 board members that actually made complaints. And out of those complaints, there was only a one-sided story in regards to that. And I don't want to go into details, but the fact of the matter is that those board members could actually had been filed the same, if not even worse, of some of their actions. But TA found no wrongdoing in regards to that. Is that correct, Mr. Blanco?
I'm not sure that's entirely correct. There was a
in regards to the 2 complaints
regarding certain issues that required us to go through a corrective action plan.
In regards to the 2 complaints that the board members were filing against TA against us as other board members, and which 2 board members weren't on the board, which were Mr. Payan and Mr. Coronado,
Correct.
those complaints were found no wrongdoing. Is that correct?
No.
There was no violation of school laws with respect to the
Right.
complaint about the board as a whole. As a corporate body, TA did not find the board violated the school laws. They did find that there was inappropriate behavior regarding the operating procedures, which is why we're going through the training with Ms. Alama.
But that was not on the complaints that were filed by the board members. That was on the.
I believe some of them were.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was.
They
And,
were.
and the reason being is, like I said in the past, is I didn't want the district to go into, go into a black eye on this, because what the same thing is, I could have filed a complaint on Ms. Searles for attending every meeting in regards to the barn, and that's where this project skyrocketed, and so that's a violation as in regards to that could have been submitted to TA. So I think we need to let Ms. Haloma, and we need to move forward in regards to this, but there's some hypocrisy here.
All right, let's move on. For the record, Steve, if you want to pull out that item from TEA, there weren't, my recollection is that there were no violations actually by the board as a whole. It was
That's correct.
recommended. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
It was the majority-led
Ms. Searles-
board.
Ms. Searles, would you please hold off and I'll recognize you in a minute? All right, so there were no violations as asserted by Ms. Searles of any laws. Is that correct, Steve?
There were no violations of specific school laws.
Right, and TEA felt that the board as a whole needed some issues with respect to the board ethics. Is that correct?
That's what you're looking for, Steve?
Yes.
Hello?
You'd have to scroll up to be able to see the actual finding.
It says right here. The findings start right here. So just to let you know, we're looking at the TEA, the cap that was submitted by Mr. Ellis.
Page 2 of 5, the last 2 paragraphs say specifically that the Special Investigation Unit found CISD violated. And then it goes on to tell in 2 different paragraphs what was violated.
Steve, I guess I want to go back to, this deals with the ethics. But I also understand Ms. Searles.
That was with respect to a particular board member, Ms. Searles. It wasn't about the board.
Well, I'm reading right here where there is no concrete evidence of systemic harassment or bullying of board members by the body corporate. The majority-led board did not always adhere to board operating procedures, board policy, parliamentary procedure, and did not abide by its own adopted board members' creed honor statement. The next one, the former board president also violated Texas Education Code 11.1511 when she repeatedly identified herself as the CISD board president during a visit to Canutillo Middle School, where her daughter is a student, during a parent-teacher meeting on May 21st, 2018. The former board president implied to the teacher that her contract might not be renewed because she was upset about the teacher's interaction with her daughter, who was a student in the teacher's class. This meeting took place on campus and in the presence of the CMS principal, who, along with other staff members, corroborated the allegations in the complaint to TEA during interviews.
Okay. All right, but
so those are 2 violations.
Hold on, Ms. Searles. Nowhere in that document is there assertions like you made that the board actually violated. I don't see that in any
the last 2 paragraphs. CISD violated. Board president also violated.
Okay, now CISD.
Because you've got plenty of them that say they're not in violation.
Okay. All right. We can delve into those. I think what we need to do is we need to move forward, and we need to do what was agreed to by the board and with TEA. I don't want to be rehashing out these issues, as well as you not wanting to commit to specific dates and not wanting to adhere to TEA's, to the agreement we had with TEA to schedule Lone Star governance. You various times indicated that you weren't about to go through Lone Star governance. We don't want to rehash those issues, do we?
I don't think that you're correct in what you're saying. So thank you. Let's move forward.
We have it on record, and we could.
I'm not on a cap.
Okay.
I'm not part of the cap.
Yes, you are. All of us are.
Yes, you are. The entire board is, Ms. Earls.
But I wasn't in violation. So I am here in compliance, Mr. Coronado, not as you're saying, in defiance. I am being very compliant by being here.
Okay, I understand that, but TEA has ordered us to go through Lone Star governance, and you various times indicate on the record that you don't want to go through Lone Star governance after.
I don't think I ever did that. I just told you I couldn't be on the date.
Stay on
that you were there.
Mr. Rodriguez, hold on. We have it on the record.
October 23rd and October 24th.
Ms. Brigham, please stop until
I'm
you're
sorry.
given the floor, please. All right? When you're given the floor.
Can we just move forward with the item?
We want to move forward. So that's what I'm telling Ms. Searles, that we need to do that. And she keeps
Yes,
finding
I agree completely. We need to move forward, but with transparency.
These side issues, Ms. Searles, we need to move forward, and we need to focus on what
Absolutely
Mr. is trying to train us.
Yes, sir. We certainly do.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
then stop going through these issues in the back, please.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Brigham.
could we look at October 23rd and 24th? Could everybody look at that and get back to Ms. Paloma, please?
Well, we're not on that item. We're still on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were still, oh,
that's the
okay.
next item. Hey, where are you going? No, we're still in the board meeting. No, I'm kidding. Staff is leaving.
So, okay. All right. Now let's
So-
let Ms. Paloma finish her presentation, and Mr. Blanco, please.
So on that item, on that first item, regarding that alignment, if you all agree to that, being able to go back, then we will need to schedule about 2 half-day sessions in order for us to complete this task.
2 half-days, and that's going to be virtual again?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right.
Why 2 half-day sessions on ethics?
We're gonna have to go back.
Probably
and...
need two-year sessions, but 2 half-day sessions on ethics. And it goes back to my initial comment. It's about one's actions.
And I'm gonna be providing you with some homework before we meet. So that 2 half days when we meet, that will be our working time. We're gonna be doing that through Zoom. So I will be scheduling and sending you the link to that. So that's gonna be when we meet, it will be working time. If needed, we can schedule additional half days. But it would. This is not gonna be done in 3 hours. We do need to at least those 2 half-day sessions.
Right. Ms. Paloma, I agree with some of the your notes that you indicated on the both on the ethics and the code. I would like you to provide those specifics and details that you think that you would like added to that and provide them to administration so that they can then provide us a draft to maybe able to approve for the next board meeting.
I will, and that's actually just the beginning. That's gonna be part of our homework because that's just a suggestion. So as a team of 8, we're gonna come up with what those procedures should look like.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rodriguez.
I just recommend, so that way we're fully transparent with the community, is to actually put the package and the other documents online whenever we have these. So that way everybody could see that. I'm big on transparency, and I believe the community needs to see, especially that document where Annette was, and I mean, Miss Searles was on every one of those meetings.
All right. Then we will discuss the issue of on the next agenda item with respect to the setting of the dates to for the Lone Star governance. All right. Next
Mr.
agenda,
Chair,
Ms. Brigham.
I didn't understand what you just said, sir. I'm sorry. What's going to go on the dates are going to go on next month? Is that what you said, sir?
No, we're going to discuss that in the next agenda item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Item number 2, Lone Star governance update.
Okay,
So
Ms. Haloma and Dr. Galaviz.
this was just to remind the board that we still have to do the Lone Star governance, and that TEA is not allowing for virtual or virtual LSG training. And the idea of Ms. Haloma having our candidates for the school elections be part of the training. In other words, so they understand what the work of school board, what the work of this board has embarked on. And so, to my understanding, Ms. Brigham is recommending October 23rd and 24th. Is that correct, Ms. Brigham?
Yes, sir. And I just think that maybe it's a good idea to give, it's like Monica said, maybe to encourage people that if they want to look at that, and then they could come in and sit through it. I think it might be worthwhile. That's why I was going for October 23rd and 24th, sir.
Well, I don't know that what would be such a good idea to have whoever other candidates are in there at the board meeting. This is to encourage candor between the current board, which should have been obviously earlier this year, but I don't know that would be advisable, Ms. Haloma.
Okay.
So that's actually one of the items that I discussed with TEA, where since we're trying to complete this before, the end of December, this will have been a great opportunity for your candidates to begin to understand what that role is going to be. If your board candidates also attend, you will be getting that team of 8 credit, regardless of who leaves and who joins. Everybody will have been present. They will also be receiving the ISO update that as a trustee, you need to take those 3 hours every 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it just provides a lot of opportunities to make sure that the board candidates understand that role and bring in whoever is going to be part of your board if there's going to be a new trustee, so they can understand that process. So it's not just necessarily just a team of 8, because remember that when we do this training, we have 2 boards. And at that point, we usually pair you up with someone not from your board. Right. And this is more about, me reflecting on myself and my role while I'm also part of my team, but that will not be an issue.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but some of the training is specific to you as your actions that you've done as a board member before. Isn't that true?
That's correct. And we've done this training with people that have just barely started and that have no idea what it is to be a board member.
Right. No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that some of those are actually not board members, and some of that may not be very, or very germane for some of them.
Right. And really, we're just talking about a few days. I mean, by the time they come on board, if they are, voted in November, they're sworn in by December the 4th and 5th, probably the only meeting that they have attended was where they were sworn in. So that will not make a difference as we engage in this process. Okay.
And I agree with the December meeting. That's fine. And then the October 23rd and 4th would be 2 half days.
Actually, well, I was saying October 23rd and 24th for both of those dates for LSG. Okay. But if you want to, we can do October 23rd and 24th for, if I'm understanding correctly, for the Code of Ethics, for the to work. Do we want to wait until then to work on the operating procedures?
No, we need to do that beforehand.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to do that
Um,
beforehand.
Yes.
I'm okay with October, Mr. Chair, if I might.
Yes.
I'm okay with October 23rd, 24th. And what I would recommend is the dialogue happen amongst the board members, and then you have the other individuals, so that way they could see people's true colors.
All right.
In other words, not them part of the discussion, but they would be able to, they would attend the 2-day training, and the training would go through LSG with the full board like we've been wanting to do for over 2 years now. That's, do you get what I'm saying, Ms. Haloma?
So are you saying like having the candidates be just kind of like spectators?
Well, they could probably do, you could probably, when we break out in group sessions, because it's a really good training, when they break out, then they could break out on their own. But, you know, the board that has to go through this, I think should go through it. And I think we should invite those candidates to sit on, to be able to watch what Lone Star Governance is about and their roles as a board member. Like,
No, so if we invite the board candidates, they will be part of the conversation and the training as if they were trustees.
okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Payan.
I would advocate that we just hold it to the current board members.
Okay.
Specifically now, because we don't know what we're going to be dealing with as far as COVID, social distancing, face mask wearing, and all of that.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
So just a word of caution with that. Once, if you have new trustees, then whoever is new, and we've been kind of like running with this issue where we try to have those trustees attend LSG somewhere else. If this takes place only with the current team, and if we have new trustees joining you during November elections, then those trustees will have to go somewhere else and attend LSG in order for the district to have their LSG certificate.
Then my suggestion would be the December 3rd and 4th dates.
For the LSG training?
Yes.
All right. Any other input?
Let me just check my calendar so we could have everybody on record to be able to attend that.
So then it's going to be October the 23rd and the 24th and December the 4th and the 5th. Ms. Haloma?
Either or.
Either or. Okay. Thank you. October the 23rd and the 24th. I'm okay with that.
I would advocate doing both dates.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, I've already done 2 and just might as well get 4 to 5 on my record, but I think it's great. I agree. I mean, we have to, and depending on what happens after November, I think it has to be done, but I think this also has to be done even if some of these, or even if any of the current board members get elected. I think it's important. It's been far too long that we haven't had the full board do it, but I agree. Let me look at my other calendar. I'm hoping I don't have a TASB meeting.
All right, so December 4th and 5th is one of the alternatives, Ms. Haloma?
So I think that we don't have many options for alternatives. Pretty much it would just be for additional dates, it would just be the 11th or the 12th, that second weekend. My December, my Fridays and Saturdays are pretty open. So
what about between now and October? There's no other dates? There's no other dates between now and October?
My understanding was from what Mr. Payan was sharing was to wait for the new team, correct?
Right.
I mean, depending on what happens after November elections.
Yes.
I think it has more meaning for the full team.
I think, Mr. Chair?
Ms. Brigham.
Yeah, I think if you could, Monica, if you could look, if the board wants to go with December, what I would do is you could look either the December 4th or 5th. And what did you say? The other one, December 11th or 12th? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think it's better to give if you have those dates, see which ones, you know what I mean, to see. Because then you have two sets of dates, and then people would just have to look at their calendar and see which one they could adjust to.
Well, I think we need to commit today.
Well, I'd already have to change a plane reservation on the 4th and 5th. But I mean, if everybody else goes for it, I'll go for it. But oh, that's of course if there's a vaccine, I might not even get on a plane. So I mean, I might not. So I agree with what Mr. Payan said.
We've been setting dates for quite a long time, Ms. Brigham. I think we need to commit today to date.
I won't be able to make December 3rd and 5th.
What about the 11th and 12th, Mr. Rodriguez?
That will work.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rodriguez, 11th and 12th is okay. Ms. Trout?
I'm okay.
Okay. Mr. Payan?
I'm okay.
My recommendation, board, is to stick to October. And the reason why is because if you look at the complaint, the majority of the board is no longer really here. There's 2 members that are not on. Mr. Payan wasn't there, Mr. Coronado. This is really to satiate the cap, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
And
then we get taken October the 23rd and the 24th?
yeah, I think.
Okay.
Because if you get members, they may not be able to commit to the date that you all are committing to.
Okay.
Mr. Payan, are you okay with the 23rd and 24th?
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Okay.
sounds good.
Do we have any
Okay.
public comment on this? That the public is people who are possibly, as Ms. Saloma had said, wanting to be board members? Or is anyone calling in, Dr. Galaviz?
Ms. Searles, I think this is for the particular board for setting a date for Lone
I
Star
haven't
Government.
received anything from Liza.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
This has to do with the corrective action
What
plan.
did you say, Dr. Galaviz? I didn't hear you.
No, ma'am.
No one has called in. There has been no public comment.
As far as from Miss Liza, no.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
So October 23rd and 24th?
All right. Mr. Payan's okay. Mr. Rodriguez is okay. Ms. Trout is okay. Ms. Brigham is okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
But we're going to go just with our board members, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. Ms. Searles.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then it's set, Ms. Paloma.
I mean, God willing that we're all here, that we can meet, that everything lines up. Yes, sir.
No, that none of us have COVID.
Yes, all of the above. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, and that we get the green light from TEA to go ahead and begin to deliver these face-to-face. I know that for at my ESC, we are not allowed to meet with districts face-to-face yet. So they're evaluating that as we go. So yeah, it will be October 23rd and 24th, given that we all can meet face-to-face since we cannot deliver these virtually.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would recommend in regards to the transition in November, I want to make sure that we continue some type of training like this for whoever's new board members. So that way we could look at, it doesn't have to be LSG, but something that could partner up with Ms. Halama and then maybe go through a year training sort of. TASB provides one of the trainings. LSG is one of them. But I think we need some more training so that way the board could focus on student outcomes and not.
And that's something we'll have to bring in whoever for the entire new board after November. So we will certainly take a look at that. Okay. All right. All right. Next agenda item.
Yes, sir. Item C, 2020 election. Number 1, discussion of possible action to approve order calling for general trustee election of November the 3rd, 2020, and other matters incident thereto.
I so move.
A second.
I
Second.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second before the board. So Sonia, please pull the board.
Yes, Ms. Brigham,
Yes.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Searles,
Yes.
and Mrs. Trout.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next agenda item.
Yes, sir. Number 2, discussion and possible action to approve joint election services contract with the County of El Paso.
So
I
move.
move. I move.
Second. Second.
All
I
right, we
second.
have a motion and a second on this agenda item. Pull the board, Sonia, please.
Yes, Ms. Brigham,
Yes.
Mr. Coronado,
Yes.
Mr. Payan,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Searles,
Yes.
and Mrs. Trout.
Yes.
Right.
Motion passes.
Takes us to the next agenda item, Sonia.
It is adjournment. The time is 6:52.
All right, we are adjourned by unanimous consent to the board.
It's 6:52 over there. It's 8:52 here.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Miss Brigham, for staying up so long.
And I'm in Pennsylvania in the woods
Oh my gosh.
on my way home. So
Drive
trying to-
safe.
Safe
Social
travels.
Be
Yes.
safe.
okay, bye-bye.
Safe. Take care. Everybody, thank
Goodbye,
you.
everyone.
be
Good
safe.
night.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.